So, I almost said far away, Brad, there. You're only like 8 feet away. Let's open up these beers. And Brad, what is your favourite Spider-Man moment? So have a think. Audience at home, do the same thing. Let us know your favourite Spider-Man moment. And someone always messages me when I'm doing my intro. So there's an old joke in the comic world that the only characters who are allowed to stay dead are Batman's parents and Spider-Man's Uncle Ben. In regards to the latter, while Uncle Ben has absolutely stayed dead for pretty much the entire duration of his comic history, he has, by proxy, killed someone when Spider-Man became an accidental fear murderer. You alright? It's on your phone?
I've also got hundreds of notifications.
Okay. Very unprofessional, Brad.
Shut up.
As we sit here just drinking some Kofferberg, like, yeah, this is our job. We get paid to do this.
What time is it, Carl?
10 o'clock in the morning. No, it's not. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and we go into a live event. Well, to be fair, it's Friday and it's in like middle of the day. We're still at work, technically. It's like, how many people do you know on a Friday? Like, finish work at 1 and they'll go get absolutely fucking slaughtered at Wetherspoons on cocktails.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, fair. At least we're earning money as we do this. So, I don't think we need to, cover Uncle Ben's backstory because it's just, he, gives Spider-Man a speech, with great power comes great responsibility, and then he gets shot.
Yeah, Lucas put in a compilation of him getting killed.
Uncle Ben! Call an ambulance! Someone call an ambulance! Uncle Ben!
Well, that's it. It's that old joke, isn't it? I've seen Uncle Ben and Batman's parents get killed more times than I've seen my own parents kiss. With Uncle Ben, I get why, in the Tom Holland version, they don't even bother showing you it, because we know that you know. We know that you know. All you need to do is have just, Peter Parker look really sad and say, yeah, my uncle died. I could have saved him. And that's all you need to know. And that's pretty much been consistent for all of Spider-Man's backstory. Every iteration of Spider-Man is generally some variation on the thing of, he tries to use his powers for selfish personal gain. He could have stopped a robber who was like, well, that's not my problem. And that robber ends up killing Uncle Ben, thereby teaching Peter Parker a very ironic and cruel lesson of, if you have the ability to help someone, you should. And that's why he becomes a selfless crime-fighting hero, because every criminal he stops, symbolically represents, another potential Uncle Ben moment for somebody else out there.
Yeah, and the MCU flips that upside down by having the same thing happen to Aunt May.
Yes.
But it does it it's basically, she's the same character of,
yeah.
In that one, I guess it wasn't selfish. He was trying to help people and it backfired, but the message is you should still help them. You have the power to do it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the consequences are for you as long as you help the people you're trying to help.
Yeah, and that's where you have, the amazing moment of just Willem Dafoe going full Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe, I think we can all agree, killed it as the Green Goblin.
Yes.
And I think the only problem with the Green Goblin performance in that first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie is that he's wearing a mask. Because Willem Dafoe has a very, very characterful face. Joe, when he's doing the bit where he's looking in the mirror and he's like...
Almost goblin-esque.
Yeah,
he has that good facial structure for that role.
Well, you see him when he's talking to Pete when you first meet him. He's like, I used to be something of a scientist myself. He's so nice. He looks so friendly and so nice. And then when he's looking in the mirror and he goes full eyes bulging, it's he looks like a different character.
There's only one who can stop us. Or imagine if he joined us.
I think they didn't need to make him wear the mask. He could have done the Goblin persona and Osborn persona just at the same time, just using his face and his acting ability.
I think the reason why he wasn't wearing one is because they sort of realised that it was better to not have him in it. The bit where Tom Holland Spider-Man's punched him in the face and he starts smiling.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make of. I like that when they brought him back, they just destroy the mask because Willem Dafoe is able to act deranged enough where he doesn't need one.
You also can't top the cackle.
You can't. Out am I? So good.
That's the speech when he captures Spider-Man and he's offering him the team up. Yeah. I learned that entire speech as a kid and would go through it all the time.
The thing about that speech is he does it wearing the mask. Imagine how if it was if Willem Dafoe was allowed to go full Willem Dafoe in that moment.
He does a lot with his body in that one.
He is, yeah. He's very Shakespearean in that way, and it's one of the reasons I like the Raimi movies where the villains are very theatrical, almost like they're in a comic book. Like, you have, like, Dr. Octopus just, like, absolutely hamming it the fuck up in every scene that he's in.
Power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
What it's like we're saying, I believe you have a train to catch. Doop.
You have a train to catch.
Like, Tits Fedora leaves server, he's just done. But, and bringing it back to the comics, it's the same basic story of, like, a criminal kills Uncle Ben. And just as an aside, like, later comic books have established that Uncle Ben probably wouldn't have gone down like the punk that he did, because they say he was a former soldier and boxer who won Aunt May's heart by beating up, like, 5 dudes at once who were harassing her.
Uncle Ben?
Yeah, Uncle Ben was a fucking don. So, like, which only just was some just mugger just shot him. All the more, like, you know, disheartening of, like, he could have defended himself if he had a fair chance.
I guess it does also make sense that he would have felt comfortable enough to challenge this mugger.
Yeah.
Because I think I don't know how it happens in the comics, but obviously in the film ones, Uncle Ben tries to get in the way because there's a robber.
Yeah.
And so that would explain what his confidence if he was formerly military.
Well, in the comics, it's not like a carjacking like it is in the Raimi movies. It's a robbery in their home. And Uncle Ben confronts the robber, gets shot. Spider-Man comes home, realises that the robber was the same guy he could have stopped when he was wrestling, remembers that with great power comes great responsibility, which, fun fact, was like just in a side panel in the original comic books, was never said by any character and was later retroactively credited to Uncle Ben.
Don't you mean if you have the power to do something, then you have the responsibility and moral obligation to do those things?
Yeah. I feel so bad for those amazing Spider-Man movies finding out how much everyone involved was having fun. But, like, they were so desperate to try and distance themselves from the Raimi movies, so they didn't let any of the actors have fun.
But they have... I think they've obviously improved in retrospect because of...
We know how much Andrew Garfield enjoyed being Spider-Man.
And his return obviously made people go back and appreciate them in a different way.
Yeah, like, I do appreciate that he was a quippy Spider-Man, which we never really see from the Raimi-verse Spider-Man, although I do think the Raimi-verse is superior, because Spider-Man does feel like a part of the city.
Yeah.
Like, the city of New York is a character in those movies, and you have those, like, awesome vignettes of, like, you know, when they just cut to random people on the street of, like, dude with 8 arms, sounds hot. And then you have people, like, singing the original theme song and stuff. It's like, I always like that, or when, like, the Goblin...
like a spider, looks like a bug.
Or, like, when you have, like, the Goblin, like, holding up the train car full of kids, and then you just have, like, the New Yorkers throwing trash at him.
Leave Spider-Man alone! You got a pick on a guy trying to save a bunch of kids? Oh yeah, I got some for your ass! You mess with Spidey, you mess with New York! You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us!
Or, like, the train scene where they all pick up, like, 35-year-old Tobey Maguire, like, he's just a kid.
No older than my son. It's like, how fucking young were you when you had your kid?
Anyway, long story short, Uncle Ben dies. Spider-Man's like, oh no, my uncle died. Shit, I better go fight crime. But in the comics, Spider-Man actually managed to track down that criminal. In the comic books, because, you know, writers couldn't leave that thread well enough alone, they had to pull on it, they say that robber comes back to rob Aunt May again. Like, he comes back to rob Aunt May again because he hears that there's treasure hidden in the Parker household.
Treasure?
There's hidden Spider-Man treasure somewhere beneath the Parker household.
I didn't realise Uncle Ben was also a pirate captain.
So the criminal comes back to rob Aunt May again, like, beats the living shit out of her, so, like, you know, asks where the treasure is, which is, like, a hilarious thing, like, where's the fucking treasure? A powerless, at the time, Peter Parker comes back, and despite not having access to his fantastic arachno abilities, beats the criminal nearly half to death, just out of sheer rage. Because he's so mad that this guy has, like, dared to enter his home. And there's a couple of amazing comic moments where people realise, oh, don't mess with Spider-Man's family. So are you aware of this? Like, we've talked before about how strong Spider-Man is, but no one ever really considers that because he fights like Stiltman.
Yeah, Spider-Man's one of those heroes that it's well known that he's beyond what he does.
Yeah.
Because he's the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's a street level hero with, like, god level hero power.
Yeah, like, you can, for anyone curious about the limits of Spider-Man's strength, they say you can comfortably, like, you know, lift a double-decker bus or, like, you know, a dump truck without any real trouble. And then there's one comic. Yeah, there's one comic where he lifts an entire building, like, through sheer strength. Like, there's I think, Superior Spider-Man where Otto Octavius leaps into Spider-Man's bodies because comic shenanigans. And the first time he gets in a fight with someone, he punches their jaw off. And then he realized, oh, Spider-Man has been holding back literally the entire time he's been a hero. He could have instantly incapacitated every single one of his threats, bar the ones that have, like, strength comparable to his own. We would have been fucked if he wasn't such a nice guy. And the reason that's hilarious is because it's not just criminals who don't know that, it's other heroes. Because there's, like, one comic where the X-Men, like, want to give Spider-Man some guff, so they go to his house, and Spider-Man comes down and beats up all the X-Men at once while screaming, "Do not come to my house." and he beats all of the X-Men.
It's like those videos that used to go around of bullies picking on like the fat kid or one of those people, and then they would just turn around and beat everyone up in one go.
Yeah, which we're not going to put clips in of because we just don't want to put clips in of like people being bullied.
Yeah, imagine the hurt pride of the X-Men if Spider-Man goes through your entire rank.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, I think the best example we've gotten of that is like the newer movies where we see like Tom Holland, Spider-Man first get access to the full limits of his spider sense, and you realize, oh, he's just unstoppable. He's getting shot at by machine guns from like every conceivable angle at once, and he just dances his way through it while fighting. And it's like, and you can't punch faster than a bullet, and if you can't punch 500 times faster than a bullet from every direction at once. And that's why it's like when you play out the Spider-Man PS4 game, where like, oh, you go into a warehouse full of like 50 criminals and Spider-Man just doesn't get touched. Like you just can't touch him. It's like, yeah, because he can just see like all danger at all times and can just like respond with a punch enough to like launch up into the air.
I remember how satisfying it is the first time you get the hang of the dodging in that game.
Oh, you're unstoppable, yeah.
And you just, the combos just feel so good.
Yeah, like nothing can touch Spider-Man. Hopefully there'll be a clip in of like either mine or Lucas's gameplay in one of those Spider-Man games, which is like, oh, just you don't lose. Like, look how much I've had the entire time. I've basically been on full bars. Like, there's been fights here I've not even touched the fucking ground.
I don't know about you, but I just abused Web Blossom.
I never used it now.
I found out it was just the best ability, and I think it got patched eventually.
Because it was so good, yeah.
Yeah, but I found out that and it was just like, you know what? I'm just going to use it throughout the encounter 5 times and just get rid of everybody.
I played it like Devil May Cry, where you launch people and then use his web shooters like Dante's pistols to keep them up in the air to continue the combo. Which, fun fact, that was started by a glitch. You got the idea of like knocking someone into the air and then keeping them suspended with gunshots?
Yeah.
That was a glitch in the Onimusha games, where they were making one of the Onimusha games and you could launch the enemy. And there was like a bug where if you hit the enemy while they were launched, they'd just stay floating in the air. And one of the people working on it went, that's a really cool idea. It doesn't work in this game, but there should be a game where you can launch an enemy in the air and then keep them suspended by continuing to hit them. And that's where the idea of like Devil May Cry's like aerial combos come from.
Is that where juggling in fighting games comes from as well?
It was like juggling in fighting games was already a thing, but it was never really a thing in like action games. And they just thought that's a really cool way of like, rewarding players for like, utilizing the full extent of their moveset.
Yeah, because Legacy of Kain Defiance added the ability to do that kind of thing, and there's a move that Raziel gets. It might be Sanguine Sensor. I can't remember the name of it. Actually, that might be one of Kane's moves. But he lifts him into the air, and then he does like a full 360 with his Wraith Blade, and just turns into a fucking helicopter and hits them in the air.
It's like Spider-Man does that, isn't it? When you launch someone in the air, it's like, okay, that's my domain. And just like you go up there, it's the spider domain, and just all you're doing is like annihilate. It's like, what do you do? And they even say in fights in that game of like, don't let him get you in the air. It's like, what? Like you can say that, but it's gonna happen because I'm Spider-Man. But bring it back to the comic books. This criminal, runs away because they just got their shit pushed in by Peter Parker, who's like more concerned with looking after his Aunt May. And then he dons his Spider-Man uniform, and despite having no powers, goes and tracks down that criminal.
So a repeat of the same thing.
Basically, yeah. So the movies have a truncated version of this confrontation. Because obviously, in the comic books, it's years apart, where the criminal just comes back. So Spider-Man tracks him down in the Spider-Man uniform, and the criminal's like, why do you care so much? Why do you care about one old lady? Even though that's like Spider-Man's whole deal of like caring about the little guy. And Spider-Man just says, this is why. Takes his mask off, and the criminal sees that it's the same guy that he killed the uncle of, and now just beat up the auntie of. And even though Spider-Man has no powers, the criminal doesn't know that. And the thought that he inadvertently created Spider-Man, and that Spider-Man is so pissed off that he's going to beat the shit out of him, he has a heart attack and dies.
I mean...
Yeah. There's a similar thing in a Batman comic, where Batman tracks down Joe Chill, like the guy who shot his parents, and just...
I couldn't remember his name, and in my head he was like, is he called Steve Cole? It's still called Steve Austin.
Oh, you mean the guy who wrote Z-Rex, Steve Cole?
Oh, I mean, I said cold, but yeah.
So he breaks into his house every night for a week and beats him up. And then the criminal, literally, Batman just keeps breaking into his house, beating him up and then leaving. And the criminal gets more and more elaborate security measures. And then Batman breaks in again just to demoralize him. And then after a week of doing this, the criminal's like, why are you doing this to me? What did I ever do to you? Batman takes his mask off, shows that he's Bruce Wayne, and the criminal realizes that, oh, I'm the one responsible for Batman. And he has this existential crisis of he doesn't know what to do because you can never tell anybody. Because if he ever, like, he now knows Batman's identity, but if he ever tells anybody, the criminal underworld's going to fucking kill him. Because, well, you're the guy who's directly responsible for the guy who comes in once a week and beats up our boss. Okay, fuck you. And it's like a similar story. It's like, yeah, that's a really interesting idea, isn't it? Of what would you do if you found out you inadvertently created like one of the deadliest things on Earth?
That leans into that theory I love about, I know we've talked about Superman before, but about the idea that there's some criminals who know the identity of the heroes, but just don't want to say anything because it means they can keep track of them when they're not in costume.
Yeah, it's like the Superman one, isn't it? We know that Superman is actually Clark Kent and he works at the Daily Bugle. It's like, and we all know that. Like, shut up, he's got super hearing, he'll hear you talking about it. It's like, no, we can go get him. What, do you think he's less bulletproof when he's at work? It's like, at least when he's at work, there's a chance we'll get away with a crime.
Isn't that comic where there's a bunch of criminals playing like a card game or something, talking about the Flash, and talking about how dangerous the Flash is, and everyone's like, no, you can't be that dangerous.
He's just
and then
there,
one of them admits that they've robbed something recently, the Flash is just out the door.
Yeah.
It's like, what, you literally can't do anything about the Flash.
It's like one of my favourite little Superman moments is in the Injustice games, where Superman's victory animation is he beats you and he flies into the sky, and he's like above the earth, and he stops and he hears someone say, help me, Superman, and he just flies down. And that's it. And he's like, that's the entire earth is his territory. And I think there's a similar comic where it's they say like in the future, like the Central City where the Flash lives, and they forget who the Flash is, but they just have this thing called the Blur, and they say that just the Blur is just this weird thing that stops all crime. And they said in this city there's no crime, there's no accidents, nothing ever seems to go wrong, because every time you'll drop your coffee, for example, and just like a Blur will go past and pick it back up. And it turns out like the Flash basically just runs so fast that he's everywhere in his city at once and just prevents all crime all the time for that one city. He just micromanages the shit out of that one area of the United States.
So he's just God.
Yeah, and they just say like in that city, no one knows who he is. They just say there's this thing called the Blur that protects us. And like people will say like, yeah, I was crossing the street in a car, nearly hit me in the Blur, help me.
How minute or how, like, where does it stop? Like, what if the condom breaks? Does he come and swap it out?
Well, the thing is, I like that. There's that. Have you ever seen that? He's gone now. There was a legendary Twitter profile called Dickhead Superman.
Yeah.
And it's the one where it's like, Lex Luthor thinks he's got premature ejaculation, but he's not. I just fly in and jerk him off at super speed. Bringing it back to like this criminal, like Spider-Man, like not content with like killing the dude, eventually just like pisses on his legacy even further by fucking his daughter by proxy. By which I mean a clone of Spider-Man starts dating the guy's daughter and then fucks her using his like superior spider strength. Don't mess with Spider-Man's family or he'll come in or he'll send his clone in to fuck your daughter.
What a line.
Luke's calling me. Just at my house, was recording something about Spider-Man. What's your favourite Spider-Man moment, Lucas?
Maybe Miles Morales doing the backflip into the Spider-Verse.
There we go. So you'll be editing this one so you can put the clip in.
Like, what's up, danger? Like, what's up, danger?
Lucas mentioning Into the Spider-Verse.
I've still not seen the new one yet because I'm waiting for it to be on demand.
All right. Well, I was gonna mention something about it, but if you don't want me to,
I'm still, because I've got a nice TV, but I'm waiting for an excuse to watch it when I can sit down with a beer and just like watch it on my nice TV in like my office. So I am going to watch it soon. It's just like everyone I knew watched it in the cinema already, and then now it's on demand. It's like £12. It's like, I don't want to pay £12 to watch a movie on my own. I've got to wait for an excuse for someone else to want to watch it.
Well, yeah, we opened the video favourite Spider-Man moment.
Yes.
But I think I just want to talk more about Willem Dafoe Green Goblin moments.
Well, that's a good, yeah. What's your favourite Willem Dafoe Green Goblin moment?
I think Out Am I is just like iconic.
What a hero, like killing all the executives of a weapons manufacturer.
The skeleton bomb that he never uses again. Like, clearly they deserve the skeleton bomb and nobody else
My
does.
favourite bit is when you have like the little bit I never really noticed like when I was younger, is because I'm just like enthralled by Willem Dafoe's performance, is when like you have the guy come in and they're showing him like the Goblin glider. And he goes, well, we've seen the glider, we don't like the glider. Come on, where are you on the Goblin formula? And he's like, well, we've got to go back to the formula because it's not really working yet. And he goes, okay, we're going to go with like Star Industries or whatever. And then they flash to when he's there, like, I can't wait to oust Osborn. This is the future. And you see like their version, it's like the flying exosuit, and the guy's like completely locked in. and it hovers 8 feet off the ground. And then the Goblin Glider comes in and kills it in 1 second. It's like, why did they not want the Goblin Glider?
We are picking up an unidentified object, closing fast. What the hell is that? Can you see anything? Oh my god.
How is the Goblin Glider not something they would want anyway?
Yeah, because he talks about it as if it's not a good thing. It's like, but he destroys, supposedly, something that he thinks is better, straight away, has more maneuverability, and he has the skeleton bomb.
Yeah, it's an armed hoverboard
that can fly, like, you know, everywhere, instantly, like, destroys, like, a bunker, like a fortified military bunker with 1 shot. It's just one of those little details that I always found hilarious, of, like, because they smash cut to, like, this is the future. And you just see him go, and the Goblin Glide comes in, just, like, you might as well I wouldn't be surprised when in a deleted scene, the Green Goblin does, like, a fucking loop-the-loop as a piss take to show how much more maneuverable it is.
Just like the combo, just a backflip on his glider before he throws the grenade.
You just see, like, the total, like, he just does a kickflip on it, and you see the point score come up.
Combo.
Oh, you see him do, like, 50-50 rail with the skeleton bombs either side. It's so good. But yeah, Willem Dafoe Green Goblin, what a hero. God, what a great film. I love the Raimi movies. Even the third one's got its charms, because, like, at least everyone looks like they're having fun.
I like the third one.
It's just got too many villains.
Yeah, there's the story's not great. Like, obviously, it would have been better if Raimi had just been allowed to make what he wanted to make. But and I also don't even mind the emo Spider-Man bits. Like, it's a bit overdone, but
it fits with the tone of the films of, like,
Bully Maguire. That's what they call
like,
it.
Tobey Maguire, like, Spider-Man is such a fucking dork. It makes sense that, like, you know, what he thinks is cool would be equally as lame. I think the best bit about it is, though, it's just like you forget the absolute just quality of women that Spider-Man is, like, getting in those movies. Because you have, like, Elizabeth Banks as Betsy Brandt.
Peter Parker. Peter.
Yeah.
You have Bryce Dallas Howard as Gwen Stacy. You have Kirsten Dunst, and then who else is in that movie? Emily Deschanel, Bones. She's the saucy receptionist who he delivers the pizza to. She's the person who's like, pizza time!
She is!
She is, yeah!
Pizza time.
I didn't know Bones was in that. But I mean, she's not into him.
She is a little bit. Do you know what? If you know what, ladies, let us know. If, like, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man came in and went, pizza time! Like, you know those panties getting dropped. Cheers, everybody.